In this video, what I wanted to sort of briefly go over is understanding of short-run aggregate supply. So a bit like in the last video, what we do, these diagrams are looking terrible. We have the same axes as we had before, so price level and a real GDP. And what we'll do, we'll add aggregate demand and we'll add short-run aggregate supply. Now remember, AD is the formula C plus I plus G plus X minus M, and short-run aggregate supply is based on what firms are capable of producing with their existing factors of production. So right here, right now, what firms are capable of producing. Now again, what this will give us are these macro equilibrium points. Right, and then the same with microeconomics really. You've got to be thinking about what will make supply shift. Now an outwards shift in short-run aggregate supply will have this impact on the economy. Inward shift would be this impact on the economy. And again, what we can do, we can track what this will do for macroeconomic performance. So here, we got our new equilibrium point here. And on the right-hand side diagram, we end up at this point here. Right, now let's think about the causes of this first of all then. What makes a short-run aggregate supply curve shift would be a change in business costs. So on the left-hand side, the outward shift will be caused by lower costs of production. On the right-hand side, it's caused by an increase in the costs of production. Now what we need to do is to sort of broaden that out a little bit though. If we've got reduction in business costs, this could be driven through cheaper resource prices. So if businesses can access commodities at lower prices than what they could do before, then it would lower their cost of production. If the cost of hiring and recruiting and paying for the wages of workers falls, this would also lower the cost of production. On the right hand side, higher costs, we flip all those different things round. So for example, if you're a business such as a supermarket chain, if your suppliers are having to raise prices that they charge supermarkets due to stricter rules and regulations or poor weather conditions which is affecting harvests, these things would raise business costs and lead to an inward shift in short-run aggregate supply. Now what we can then think about the macroeconomic impacts of this. Now on the left-hand side diagram, where we've got a reduction in business costs, this would allow firms to lower price levels. So this would straight away lead to a reduction in the rates of inflation across the economy. As price levels fall here due to lower business costs, we've got an increase in real GDP. The reduction in price levels will incentivize a growth or an extension in aggregate demand. Cheaper prices could stimulate a growth in consumption spending by households. Firms might invest more if they can access cheaper capital than what they could do before. Lower price levels could incentivize governments to spend more, but also it could lead to foreign people wanting to buy now more competitively priced UK exports of goods and services. And of course, for people that used to import a lot of products, if you can now source products domestically for cheaper, then you might suddenly start to buy more domestic goods rather than foreign goods and services. So overall, this would increase the demand for UK output across the economy. Now, if we've got a growth in output, then firms will have to respond by raising their demand for workers. So this would raise employment levels across the economy. Now, on the right-hand side, when we've got an increase in business costs, we've got inflation increasing. This would be cost push inflation. So the higher business costs would raise price levels across the economy. Now, when we've got inflation, this could lead to lower real GDP. Higher business costs and higher price levels would lead to a contraction in demand. Higher prices might prevent households from buying as many goods and services. Firms might decide to hold back on buying capital with higher prices. It could mean that people that used to buy our exports suddenly think, you know what, British products are now more expensive, they're now less competitive, we'll demand less of these. And this would overall lower the demand and therefore the supply of output across our economy. and all this would lead to lower employment. If we're producing less driven by lower demand, then firms need to recruit fewer workers in their economy. Right, there you go, guys. Short-run aggregate supply